Picture this, you've just put your little one down for their nap, crept out of the room, made a cup of tea, and are on the couch enjoying your latest Netflix binge, when suddenly your little one is awake. And if you're not through that whole episode yet, then this, my friends, is called a catnap, and it happens to every baby. Today I am answering your sleep question. My 3-month-old is catnapping all day and having 4 to 5 short naps. Is this okay? And in this video, I'll talk a little bit about catnapping, and in particular at this age when we're talking around the 4-month sleep progression, and we'll have a look at some ways that you can improve napping for your little one. Hi, I'm Nicky. I'm one of the founders of Little Ones and mother to 3 beautiful children. At Little Ones, we specialise in infant, toddler and child sleep and nutrition programs, which are found in our state-of-the-art mobile app. We have a huge team of qualified experts waiting and ready to help you, so please visit us at www.littleones.co to find out more. Catnapping is a term I'm sure you've heard of. It really refers to our babies having very short naps. So your baby is probably napping for 35 to 45 minutes at a time. They're waking up, they're wide awake, and they're not going back to sleep into that next sleep cycle to nap for longer. Now, while 45 minutes might be considered a pretty good nap, and it's not a bad nap, especially compared to a baby who isn't napping, there are quite a few reasons why this one sleep cycle nap can occur, particularly at 3 months. And there are some things that we can do to encourage our little ones to nap for longer, because quite simply, if they're having lots of these little naps throughout the day while they're still getting overall the ideal amount of daytime sleep, it's in broken chunks. So they're not having the chance to enter that really deep sleep that occurs with a longer nap. So your little one is probably ending the day quite overtired, despite what may be quite a lot of cumulative sleep hours. So let's dive right into it and talk about why catnapping happens. So catnapping can actually happen. I say it's common around 4 months, and it is because it's significantly linked to the 4-month sleep regression. But catnapping or short naps can definitely happen in a younger baby too. Even in newborn babies, having really short fragmented naps can be because of wind. If your newborn baby has wind, if they haven't brought up enough wind is going to wake them up. It can also be because they've gotten overtired. It can also be because they are undertired, which means that they weren't awake for long enough before they went back to sleep, so they're just not tired enough to sleep for longer. So in a newborn baby, well, really up to about 3 months, these are the main causes of catnapping. And certainly beyond 3 months, these can definitely be causes of catnapping in an older baby too. So to make sure that you're ruling out those things, obviously winding your baby well is important. But in regards to overtiredness and undertiredness, you need to make sure you are using age-appropriate awake times for your little one. And that means making sure that the period of time that they are awake for between naps is correct for their age. The thing about awake times is that they are always changing. So as your baby grows and matures, they can handle more and more awake time. It's also important to not just put them down the second they exhibit the first tired sign either, as is a lot of advice out there on the internet, because tired signs can sometimes be misleading. So for your 3-month-old baby, I would be looking at an awake period of 2 hours between naps. And this gives your baby enough awake time to have decent feeds, but also to be awake and interactive and start to grow and experience things. And it means that when they are due for a nap, their sleep pressure is a lot higher. And so they are going to settle easier and nap for longer because they really need that sleep. As your baby gets older, the awake times are going to be extending out as well. So that's something you definitely need to keep an eye on. If your baby is awake for longer than that, they're going to get overtired, and that will mean that there is cortisol, the stress hormone, coursing through their body, and they're going to find it very, very hard to unwind, to sleep, and also to nap for longer than that one sleep cycle. So they're going to catnap because the elevated cortisol levels in their body are going to wake them up. It's going to prevent them from going into that nice deep sleep. A similar thing can happen if their awake windows are too short because your little one is just not tired enough to nap for longer. So you're putting your 3-month down after an hour 15 to an hour and a half of being awake. They're getting sleepy, sure, and they may have yawned or exhibited a few tired signs. So you pop them into bed and they wake up 45 minutes later. Chances are that they were simply not tired enough to have a longer nap. So those are two things that are quite easy to rule out by making sure the awake times are spot on. We have the awake times very meticulously calculated for you from birth right through to 3 years old and beyond actually in our sleep programs, which are available inside our mobile app. So you don't need to think about it, you don't need to worry about it, it's all there for you. Now, one of the big contributing factors to catnapping creeping toward the 4-month mark is your little one's ability to self-settle. Now, self-settling means that your little one is able to go from awake to asleep on their own without you having to do something to put them to sleep, rocking, patting, feeding, etc. This becomes important at around 4 months because your little one's sleep cycles start to become more differentiated. And so for napping, that means your little one will no longer drift between sleep cycles as they may have when they were younger. They're going to start waking fully between sleep cycles during the day and also at night. So this is when you can start to see, even in a baby who was previously napping really well, you can start to see 45-minute wakes on the dot for every single nap. If your little one is relying on you actively putting them to sleep at the start of that nap, then they are waking after that sleep cycle expecting the same thing. They do not know how to roll over and go back to sleep without you. So of course they wake, you're not there, you're not patting them or rocking them or feeding them back to sleep. So they call out, they cry out, they're now fully awake and they're not going back to sleep anytime soon. This is when you might want to start looking at some of the ways that you can help your little one learn to fall asleep independently. And in our sleep programs, we have so many methods for you to choose from based on your parenting style, your little one's current sleep association, to help guide your little one toward independent sleep, to hopefully get them to nap for longer than that one sleep cycle. Lastly, what I would call a quick win for catnapping is to make sure that everything in their sleep environment is very sleep-inducing. So if your little one is sleeping in a bright room, then the older they get, the more alert they become. They're going to come out of a sleep cycle and look around and want to stare out the window or stare at their interesting musical mobile, and they're not going to go back to sleep. So I would be making sure their room is really, really, really dark, because not only will it encourage the sleep hormones in their body to assist with better napping, but it means that when they do stir between sleep cycles, they can't see anything to distract them and wake them up and make them interested and make them want to be awake and not asleep. So make their room really, really dark. Also, the use of white noise is a tried and true way of helping your little one settle easier and sleep for longer. So I would really encourage you to use white noise, a continuous white noise, in your little one's room for naps as well as nighttime sleep. Now back to your question on whether 4 or 5 cat naps a day is okay at 3 months old. Listen, like I always say, if it's okay for you, it's okay for me. And if it's working for you and your family, then that's perfect. If you would like your little one to nap better, if you're noticing that they're getting really grouchy in the evening because they're perhaps quite overtired, if you're noticing they're waking up from their cat naps quite grouchy because they haven't had quite enough sleep, then I would suggest you start looking at some of the things I've talked about, their awake windows, their self-settling ability, and even tweaking some things in their sleep environment to try and get them napping for longer than that one sleep cycle. Because at 3 months old, What I would ideally like to see for naps is a shorter nap in the morning of perhaps just one sleep cycle, so around 45 minutes in the morning, then a nice long lunchtime sleep. I'm talking 2 hours in the middle of the day, and then another shorter nap in the late afternoon. So really, 2 out of the 3 can be cat naps, but we'd like to aim for a nice long restorative sleep around the middle of the day. So if you need some help getting that happening, please check out our website, www.littlenones.co, because we have tons and tons and tons of information on there. Also, our YouTube channel has so many videos around catnapping and sleep cycles and awake windows and overtiredness. So that's another really awesome resource there. If you need a bit more help, please download our app, Little Ones app, from your app store, because our sleep programs inside our app are helping like 300,000 families around the world to sleep better. And we would love to help you too. So make sure you check that out as well. Thank you very much for watching today. I hope that's given you some help about catnapping and potentially some ways forward. I would love to hear from you, so pop your comments below and we'll get back to everybody. Thank you again for watching. I'll talk to you soon.